Hello everybody, God Scholar here. If you make it through the entire video, number one, I love you, and number two, please leave a like and subscribe. Feel free to make a comment. I really do like it when someone gives me their own thoughts on these cases. It always brings up much more perspective, which I'm always very hungry for. Without further ado, let's get stuck in there. In the cold, dark depths of the Mediterranean Sea lies a steel tomb, the final resting place of 69 sailors and one of the most enduring maritime mysteries of the Mediterranean. This is the story of the INS Dakar, a submarine that vanished on its maiden voyage to its new home and new country, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a new, controversial nation in mourning. Like the other three lost submarines of 1968, the story has a frustrating and fascinating lack of closure. But before she was the INS Dakar, she was the British HMS Totem, constructed in the Second World War. Built at Devonport Dockyard in my own native Plymouth, she was a Group 3 T-class submarine, launched in 1943 and commissioned just as the war was drawing to a close. In the post-war years, Totem was given a new lease of life. Like her sister boats, she was fitted with a snorkel, allowing her to run her diesel engines while submerged, vastly increasing her underwater endurance. Then, in the early 1950s, she underwent a radical transformation. She was one of the select few for the Super T conversion, a major refit that streamlined her hull and upgraded her propulsion, making her faster and, crucially, much quieter beneath the waves. She was now a formidable instrument of Cold War naval power. In 1965, the veteran submarine began a new chapter. The fledgling Israeli Navy, seeking to expand its underwater fleet, purchased HMS Totem along with two of her sisters. On the 10th of November 1967, in a ceremony at Portsmouth, the white ensign was lowered and the flag of the new state of Israel was raised. Under the command of Lieutenant Commander Yaakov Rahanan, the Dakar headed for cold waters of Iceland for sea trials before returning to Portsmouth for the final time. On the 9th of January 1968, with her crew of 69, she slipped her moorings, left Portsmouth for the last time. The voyage began smoothly. After a brief stop at Gibraltar, the Dakar began its long transit across the Mediterranean, running submerged on its snorkel. The submarine was performing magnificently, making such excellent speed that Commander Hanan radioed ahead requesting permission to arrive in port early. At 6:10 on the morning of the 24th of January, the Dakar transmitted a routine position check. She was just east of the Greek island of Crete. It would be the last time anyone would know for certain where she was before her loss. Over the next 18 hours, the submarine sent 3 more brief controlled transmissions. Critically, none of them contained a position. They confirmed the boat was still operational but gave no clue as to its location. Then, at 2 minutes past midnight on the 25th of January, nothing. No word, no messaging, no transmissions, no radio. A deathly silence fell across the airwaves. The INS Dakar had vanished. For a day there was only silence and growing concern in port. Then, on the 26th of January, the British Admiralty made it official, reporting the submarine missing. Her last known position was given at 100 miles west of Cyprus. Naturally, there was a huge international search and rescue operation. Ships and aircraft from Britain, the United States, Greece, Turkey and Lebanon joined the Israeli effort, securing the vast empty expanse of the eastern Mediterranean. While Israeli officials initially refused to confirm the submarine was missing, naval broadcast urged all commercial vessels in the area to be on the lookout. A brief flicker of hope emerged on the 27th. A radio station in Nicosia reported receiving a distress signal call on the Dakar's emergency frequency. The signal seemed to come from southeast of Cyprus, but a frantic search of the area revealed nothing. It was a false dawn. The sea, it seemed, as always, was trying to keep its secrets. By the 31st of January, the international forces withdrew. The Israeli Navy continued the desperate search for 4 more days before finally ceasing at sunset on the 4th of February. The INS Dakar and her 69 crew were officially declared lost with all hands. In the aftermath, speculation was rife. Had she been sunk by a Soviet vessel, or perhaps an Egyptian one? But the Israeli government was firm. Vice Admiral Avraham Botzner, the head of the Navy, stated publicly that there was no evidence of any foul play. The official conclusion was that the Dakar was lost due to a catastrophic technical malfunction or a human error during a deep diving exercise. She had simply gone down, taking her entire crew with her, and on the 26th of January, 2 days before she was even reported missing. For the families and for the nation of Israel, it was a devastating conclusion, but the story of Dakar was far from over. The mystery of what happened and the desperate search for where she lay was only just beginning. The families of the 69 men awaited, trapped in a state of limbo. Then, on the 9th of February 1969, a breakthrough. For a year, the Mediterranean held its secret. A fisherman walking on the coast near Khan Younis, southeast of Gaza, found a strange object washed ashore. It was the stern emergency buoy of the INS Dakar. British T-class submarines were fitted with 2 such buoys, one at the bow and one at the stern, each attached to a 200-metre-long steel cable. They were designed to break free and float to the surface in a disaster, marking the submarine's position. But the buoy held its secret. Experts examining the short length of the cable still attached made a series of critical errors. They concluded the buoy had remained tethered to the wreck for most of the year, in waters no deeper than 300 metres. They believed the Dakar lay off her intended course. For decades, this single misleading clue sent searchers on a frustrating and fruitless quest. As the search continued, the mystery deepened. In 1970, an explosive claim emerged from Egypt. The newspaper El Akbar reported that the Dakar had been sunk by an Egyptian frigate using depth charges. Years later, an Egyptian general, Mohammed Asbar, would recall the story. He claimed that on the 23rd of January 1968, his ship detected an unknown submarine in Egyptian territorial waters near Alexandria. He said they attacked, and the submarine dived hastily and was lost. Asbar believed it may have crashed into a shallow seabed. The Israeli government flatly denied the claim, stating that there was no evidence to support it. But the story added another layer of Cold War intrigue to the Dakar's fate. The years turned to decades, the search never truly stopped. In the 1980s, Israeli teams, working with Egyptian liaison officers, scoured the waters north of the Sinai. In 1986, the US Navy lent its powerful P-3 Orion and S-3 Viking surveillance aircraft to the hunt. By 1998, Israel was so desperate for a lead it placed newspaper adverts across Europe and the Middle East, offering $300,000 reward for information. Then in May of 1999, after 31 years and some 25 failed expeditions, came the moment everybody had been waiting for. A joint American-Israeli team decided to ignore the misleading buoy data and focus their search along the Dakar's original intended route. Using new information from US intelligence, their sonar detected a large object on the seabed. It was between Crete and Cyprus, laying in the crushing blackness of 300 meters, nearly 10,000 feet of water. On the 28th of May, a remote operating vehicle named Remora 2 descended into the abyss, and there she was. The images sent back to the surface were stark and definitive. It was the INS Dakar. She was resting upright on her keel. Her conning tower had been snapped off clean and lay beside the hull. The entire stern section from behind the engine room had been torn away, most probably by a catastrophic implosion. This strongly implies her last moments were incredibly violent. The following year, a survey team returned to the site. They carefully recovered a few artifacts, the submarine's bridge, its gyro compass, and other small items that had survived the wreck. The evidence on the seabed told a clear story. There had been no battle. It appeared no emergency measures were even taken. The Dakar had suffered a catastrophic failure, diving uncontrollably past her maximum depth until the pressure of the sea simply crushed her hull. The violence of that collapse is what flung the emergency buoy free, sending it on its year-long journey to the shores of Gaza. At a bare minimum though, the mystery of where she was finally solved. While the search for the wreck was over, the quest for remembrance had only just begun. Even before the discovery, a memorial to the Dakar and her crew were dedicated in 1971 at the National Cemetery on Mount Herzl in Jerusalem. Etched into the stone is a verse from the Possums. Your path lay through the sea, your way through the mighty waters, through your footprints were not seen. Today the recovered bridge and sail of the Dakar stand as a powerful memorial in the Naval Museum, a tangible piece of a lost submarine finally brought home. Beyond the steel and the stone, the deepest legacy of the Dakar was the human one. The immense depth of the wreck makes recovering the remains almost impossible. For the families, this has been the most enduring pain, and we've seen this before in the other lost submarines of 1968. But in this particular case, Jewish law requires burial in land and does not recognize burial at sea. For years, rabbi authorities grappled with the complex legal and religious questions before the wives and crew could officially be declared widows, allowing them to remarry and move on with their lives. The story of the Dakar continues to be told, captured in documentaries and books, ensuring the sacrifice of the 69 men is never forgotten. But in 2013, a stunning revelation emerged from newly declassified archives. While Israel had publicly insisted that the loss was an accident, privately their greatest fear was very different. Minutes from a cabinet meeting just days after the disappearance revealed that the Navy commander believed it was unlikely Egypt was responsible. Instead, he raised a chilling possibility that the Dakar had actually been sunk, perhaps unintentionally, by the Soviet Navy, who may have mistaken her for a threat. For the first time, the true scale of the Cold War paranoia surrounding the loss was laid bare. It is important, however, to state that there's actually no evidence whatsoever that the Soviet Navy had anything to do with the Dakar's loss. The Dakar's ghost still sails in the memory of the Israeli Navy. In 2018, it was proposed that a new submarine be named Dakar in tribute, but the families of the lost submarine protested. The name, they felt, was sacred to the 69 men who perished. The wound was still too raw. Respecting their wishes, the Navy changed the new boat's name to Dragon. It is a final, poignant testament to the tragedy that the families of those crew endure even to this day. As is the case with the other lost submarines of 1968, the longest suffering victims of these lost submarines are the families of the sailors that were forever lost to us. With this video complete, I've now done all of those 4 lost submarines, and I have now noticed a common theme with all of them. The lack of closure is extremely cruel. It's painful to have to deal with, in addition to the loss of someone you love. And for that, I'd like to end this video acknowledging the pain and suffering that the families of Scorpion, K129, the Manev, and the INS Dakar have been forced to endure. The very nature of a submarine and its place in the ocean generally means that when something goes wrong in those deep, dark, crushing depths, answers are a luxury. May the submariners of all 4 Leviathans resting on the ocean's depths rest in peace. If you liked my video, please leave a like and subscribe. I intend to do another video on the HMS Nottingham, a World War I ship that was lost and only recently rediscovered. Also, if it's your cup of tea, I do Greek mythology videos, and I would absolutely love for you to go visit that, have a look at it and see what you think. I appreciate you all for listening. Take care now. Bye.